What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. My name is Ramon, and today we are talking about the final episode of HBO's miniseries Chernobyl. It was powerful, impactful, and very well done. Starting out with just saying a huge thank you to the writers and the directors and HBO for just putting together a series like this and putting it out there. I know there have been other documentaries that have been made, none of which I have seen myself. However, this show was my introduction into the broader history of what happened in Chernobyl. And now it has sparked a further interest in doing more research on what exactly happened there and reading some more literature and seeing more other documentaries that are about it. So this is going to be a review, kind of a WTF reaction to what happened in this episode. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Dude, episode 5 was intense. It was one heck of an episode to watch. Now we are at the point where it is the trial, and I'm not really going to do a full-on breakdown of everything that went on, but just the power of this episode and the weight of what the Soviet Union had on a lot of these people who were involved was tremendous. That Valery Legasov, he had gone to his summit where he was going to speak about nuclear energy, or nuclear energy summit, where he was going to speak with other people in the field about the state of Chernobyl and what had gone on. And he pretty much lied. He told the world that everything was okay, when in fact it really wasn't. And the director of the KGB, he's sort of giving them the thumbs up, like, you know what, you did a really great job. You're going to be pretty much considered a hero of this entire thing once it wraps up. And he just feels this weight on himself, like we're just towing the line. We're just continuing with these lies. This is something that could have been prevented had information been distributed. And it must have been, at least my understanding from this episode, it must have been just something inherent with the Soviet Union, that when they didn't like something, when they didn't like the truth, they would tell a lie. And they would continue to lie and continue to lie. But eventually, as Jared Harris, his character, Valery Legasov, or the man Valery Legasov was written to have said, was, what is the cost of these lies? Eventually, it's going to catch up to you. The truth waits for no one. And we see that with even Boris Sherbina, that he is now suffering from the effects of his exposure to the radiation. And he tells Legasov that he doesn't really have that much time left on him. And he even feels as if he was indispensable, just a person who was needed by the country to do a job with little to no thought to the man's worth. And I'm not sure how much was true between the conversation between the two of these men and how much was written for show, but it definitely made me feel like they both, in a sense, felt as if they were sent to do this. They could have gotten anybody to do it, but they sent them. And probably because they were expendable. They weren't very, very important people. I mean, Valery was not the only scientist that could have gone. And in the end, we find out that there were a lot more, not just him, that were involved with this. And that Boris was not the only sort of man to make things happen that could have been sent. They could have sent anybody else. And so he has this feeling, I imagine, of, well, they sent me because I must not be important. And we're getting on into the trial. And the trial even takes place near Chernobyl or Pripyat. And Emily Watson's character, Ulana Kamyuk, she's encouraging Legasov, tell the truth, tell the truth. And he's thinking to himself, what does the truth even matter at this point? This is going to be like a show trial. There's no sense in even telling the truth with a handpicked jury. I don't understand what it is you want me to do to sacrifice what it is that I've already lied about in front of my peers over at this conference. And just the inner turmoil continues with every turn of this episode. It has me as much on edge watching just the trial alone and the explanation of what happens as it was in episode 1, just watching the men rush into the building to put out the fire. And I think that that's a pace or a theme that they've been able to maintain throughout this entire miniseries, is just that feeling of stress. Stress watching men rushing into a building, stress watching men saving their coworkers and their fellow man. Stress when the rover wasn't working on the roof to clear the graphite. Stress watching men go up to the roof to clear the graphite. It's just been a very, very stressful show. And I think what adds to that level of stress is the fact that this happened. This isn't something that somebody had just conjured up, put down on paper, and is now bringing to life with film. This happened. And it's the misinformation and the ill-informed who unfortunately played a part in the incident. And so throughout this trial, which is really cut short because it's just one episode, there's no more. This is the final one. They're pretty much just laying it out, like what happened, counting down to the incident. And one of the things that I had no idea about, because again, I'm being reintroduced. I knew that there was that Chernobyl was radioactive. I knew that there was something that happened to the nuclear reactor. I was born in 83, and I just vaguely remember hearing about something like this. Like, I've always known about Chernobyl, but I've never really known the facts and the details. So again, this show being that introduction to me and then finding out some of these details, it was crazy. The fact that he breaks it down, how this reactor became a bomb, how this reactor pretty much exploded, and just mismanagement, poor decision making, having workers that night who were ill-informed, untrained, unprepared, and for one of them, very, very inexperienced with only 4 months on the job. Having all of that created like this perfect storm for this to happen. And the fact that Legasov even states in this show trial that there are other reactors out there still, that this can happen. They're ticking time bombs. If we don't retrofit these reactors, this very well may happen again. And you see the toll, you see the death toll, you see how much money has had to have been thrown at this, how many people have been displaced because of this. It's wild. It really is wild to have watched it. And I think that they did an amazing job. This entire series has just been, it's hard to say that it's good because it happened. It's hard to say, wow, this was an amazing show when this was people's lives. But I like to think that when I speak about this show so highly to like my coworkers or my friends or my family, that I'm not saying it in a sense like, oh, this is just super entertaining, but it's like, please educate yourself on something that happened to everyday people. We may very well have an instance where, I don't know, they'll talk about it. It seems really petty in comparison, but they'll talk about the BP oil spill and the effects that it had on the coastal families that, or the Gulf Coast families that I don't even really know about. I only know what the news was sharing at the time it was happening. And now we've been cut off from it. We're now on to the next one. Celebrity news, other things that take place. Whereas there's still people on the Gulf Coast that I'm sure are affected every day by the tragedy that had happened from that oil spill. Just as the people are affected, their children, their children's children are continued to be affected by the disaster that took place in Chernobyl. I give this show just a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10, 5-star, thumbs up, recommend it to everybody. Watch it. Just watch this show for yourself. It will make you feel things. It will move you. It will everything. I thought that the directorial approach was awesome. I thought that the cast was definitely solid. They did a really great job. Everybody who was on this show, I felt it was an all-star cast. No one person took the light. Everybody played their roles, and I felt did an amazing job. At the very end, they touch on like going through what you would see in any movie that portrays actual events. They show Chernobyl. They show video footage of Valery Legasov, of Boris Sherbina. And one of the things that they admit to is the fact that Ulana Kamyuk's character was actually a creation. They created this character to represent all of the scientists that worked with Valerie. And she was just sort of to be that one collective. And to hear what had happened with Dyatlov, to hear what happened to the director, Famin, and just, I'm stuttering over my words. It was just a really, really great episode. I'm not going to break it down for you guys like scene by scene like I did with episode 4 and episode 3, but I'll just end with this. This show really moved me. The comments that I had received in these previous videos, kind of sharing other information that's out there, other books that can be read, other websites that can be seen, other YouTube videos that can be watched. These are all things that I'm definitely going to be checking out for myself because I feel like I have more questions about what happened to the people. I have an interest in hearing the stories because I feel for myself that it's through these stories that these people, they continue to live on. And when we stop reading about them, when we stop learning about what had happened, we quickly find ourselves in a position to allow something like this to happen again. And I hope that it doesn't. I really do. I like to say that it won't, but it seems like there's always just big disasters that occur with big companies, big corporations or countries that have a bottom line that they're trying to cater to, for lack of a better explanation. But I'm curious as to what you guys thought. Leave it down in the comment section down below. If there's any external links that you want to leave to any literature that I can read, any videos that I can watch, feel free to leave them. Feel free to leave that like on the video if you guys like it. And if you want to subscribe, this is a podcast channel. And it was really only just 5 episodes reviewed, but feel free to subscribe too. And as always, till next time, you guys, see ya.